And to start with, we do a quick introduction, and I'll hand it off to Mauro Cabanella. But here on our panel today, we have David Bainbridge from CF, Adnan Salim from Radisys. We also have Zinja Lee from Huawei, and Mauro Cabanella is our moderator today. And as we saw earlier, we have Daya Kachima from NTT Communications. And lastly, Dominique Vercher from Nokia and ON.Lab. So thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to hearing you.
So thanks for joining. I think this is an industry panel. So ONOS was created starting from research and now it's moving very fast to the industry. I think that the first question is about, we already know that there are a lot of advantages in using ONOS for the industry, but I would like to have an opinion of the panelists about pros and cons of using ONOS as a base event. Okay, let's start from my left.
So the question actually talks about pros and cons of SDN and ONOS. So I think they're relatively two different things. The speakers this morning talked about some of the pros of going to SDN, and I think what we're seeing in the industry is more and more customers looking to say, look, the key here is automation around the network. We've been asking for it in a long time, and with the SDN technologies coming to maturity, we're getting that capability. And they can use those to pressure vendors like ourselves to work towards this direction, allow network automation through common interfaces, get levels of network abstraction and push that down so that they can quickly implement business models that not only lower expenses, as we talked about, but that more importantly, bring in new business models, bring in new capabilities that they can put in their network faster. Because you're not going to become a leading customer just by cutting costs, or leading carrier, if you will, just by cutting costs. You're going to become a leading carrier by putting out new services, bringing in new revenue that way. In terms of bringing in ONOS, the pros and cons are ONOS is an open source software capability, which means customers and vendors alike can share ideas, code, and work together to come up with a solution. The cons, what I see in terms of the open source and ONOS, and even SDN to some extent, is maturity. And as they deploy this in commercial products or to put it in labs, we're going to find errors that we didn't expect or didn't see in the test scenarios. As we scale this out into production networks, it's not tried and true yet. And those are the cons that we're going to see. And that is going to perhaps slow some of that adoption in the industry. But eventually we'll get there. It's just going from a relatively mature technology to things that aren't quite as mature and proven in the industry. And that will be the cons.
Thank you very much, Mr. Flynn. Thanks. Actually, pretty well agree. I think that the whole software open source industry and the networking being open source now as part of SDN and ONOS is a trend that is, of course, really because of two main reasons. One is to reduce the cost of the infrastructure, but I think more importantly, it's not a reduction of the cost of the infrastructure. And these are interrelated things that more minds and more hands have access to creating things instead of a few. And that's called a democratization of technology, which is SDN and ONOS is part of. And through that democratization, meaning more minds and more hands can have access to technology, will create more innovation. It will increase more innovation. It will, as a result or consequence of that, will also reduce the cost. So the pros are, I think, fairly, at least one thing I think the industry kind of agrees that the pros are fairly obvious. The cons, and I think it's not really the cons, I think it's more the challenges. The challenges are that when you have more minds and more hands on it, you do have to make, in the end, a system that is actually reliable, resilient, and gives the end users what they're expecting in terms of quality and innovation and services. So having more minds and more hands in terms of open source and open technology is great, but in the end, it has to be reliable, resilient, with the expected quality. And I think that I wouldn't necessarily call it a con, but it's more of a challenge. And I think that's the challenge that I think that not just unique to SDN and ONOS in general in the open source community, that's been a challenge. And many open source projects in the past have succeeded wildly and some have failed. And I think in the end, that's what is going to ultimately come down to in terms of SDN and ONOS as well. And I think it's off to a great start. There's lots of innovation, lots of open source, lots of help, and larger community that's getting behind it, which will make it more resilient and more innovation to come out of it. Thank you very much. Mr. Lee.
Robin from Huawei. I worked, I'm the chief actor of Huawei ONOS-based Android controller. For the past year, regarding the ONOS and SDN, the past year I have done the response for the architecture design based on the ONOS and the open source. The result, I can see that the open source SDN controller does work, though it faces a lot of challenges, but it truly does work. So this is the first thing. The second thing I want to mention, just on Monday, I proposed my draft in IETF because I'm a 6 years IETF player. This called as network artificial intelligence. So I think the controller is the brain of the network. If you think how you can use your brain, you can do everything. So you think about the controller. So I think, though we do a lot of things in the past years, but I still say we are still in the early phase, of the SDN phase, SDN era. So I think this is a great opportunities to the ONOS and the open source controllers. So though we face a lot of challenges, but I think that we can overcome the challenges throughout the ONOS, throughout the community, because through the open source, we can embrace all sorts from the world. So that's why I'm here. I like ONOS and open source. Thank you.
Thank you. No one actually told anything bad about ONOS, so I think everyone is glad. Please.
Yes, pros and cons. Yeah, about pros, as I explained the previous talk, we have launched SDN services, and we could dramatically reduce OPEX. So this is a very clear pros. We actually have not decreased the CapEx yet, but this is very clear pros. But I think the most important pros of using SDN or using ONOS is the, how to say, carrier-driven or hour-driven service development style. I mean, before SDN or before open source, our service strategy or service specification have really relied on the network equipment roadmap or network equipment function roadmap, really. But after SDN or after open source, I think we can develop our own services freely, rapidly, using by implementing the value-added functions by software, by ourselves, or by our partners, or by with the open communities. This is a very big pros. About cons, there isn't this critical comments, but honestly, after SDN, we have a problem to failure isolation, because SDN service, we have provided the more dynamic functions or more fine-grained flow manipulation functions to the customer. So when some failure occurs, it is very difficult for us to isolate the problem or maintenance point for us.
Thank you very much. Just for the student, the OPEX is the operational expenses and the CAPEX is the capital expenses. When I started many years ago, actually buying a computer was very expensive because the hardware itself was very expensive, and running the computer was mildly expensive. Now, I think that what we are seeing is the opposite. Actually, the hardware is very cheap, but the software and the maintenance of the software and operating the software actually is as much as the capital expenses, or even my experience is even 3-4 times larger in a certain number of years. So, thanks for this.
Okay, thank you, Mauro. First, thank you for inviting me for this industry panelist. I think it's a good opportunity to debate a little bit more on pros and cons. I will start a little brief history on where we come from. In fact, in the late 90s, maybe some of you already heard about MPLS, multi-protocol label switching. That was in fact a concentration of 3 packet switching technologies. That was IP, ATM, and frame relay. And ITF, in fact, exploded with this MPLS architecture that was after that adapted further for transport network with the MPLS transport profile, and also further for optical networks with generalized MPLS, multi-protocol label switching. The problem of this architecture was the concept was really to push the distributed control function towards the nodes, to have very autonomous systems to be deployed inside the network. It brings the value in terms of scalability, in terms of upgrades, in terms of should say recovery, automatic recovery of the network. But the problem that the network operator was facing was definitely that it was difficult to find a global, consistent view of the network. The network state was a little bit complex to understand because of this autonomous system evolving. And what is the real added value of SDN and the SDN paradigm per se? It brings back the logical central view that was in fact forgotten from the network management system that was developed by different equipment vendors. And what is also way more, it was pushed by open source community. And that's why it combines the open source, meaning that it offers, I should say, a way of standardizing this centralized network management system. And this is, I think, the great added value on that. The missing point and the cons that is coming from that we forget a little bit the concept of connectivity. SDN is really addressed towards network element to configure these different networks through a software interface that was initially pushed by Stanford University and ON.Lab with OpenFlow with the different version. Just to configure equipment and to leave with the flow table and to leave it like that. And we missed the connectivity approach that was in fact brought by MPLS through the label switch path. And this is, I think, a missing point that maybe SDN architecture should push further. But the great advantage, it brings more scalability, more stability, and more better knowledge of the network. And finally, one point also that was missing from the previous network control architecture, it was programmability. In fact, ITF mainly pushed to a very strong standardized protocol with the GMPLS, with SPFT, with RSVPT, but for those that knows a little bit specification will understood, and didn't offer any interface to program or to let third-party application to be integrated inside the network. And this is, I think, why GMPLS has found its limits there, and where, in fact, SDN can capitalize from that to, in fact, really have a strong deployment in network operator systems. And finally, to finalize on the pros and cons, the pros is definitely that it's open source. It's open. There are well-defined interface for programming third-party application. The cons, and I think we will come back for later, is openness. The weakest things of openness is security. This is also a breach for further attacks, but we will talk certainly that for the next one.
Thank you very much. Do you want to have some questions?
If there are.
Because actually it took a little bit longer than expected, but I think there are some burning questions. A lot of ideas have been put on the table, so some questionables? No? Okay, so I think that most of these was actually discussed, so I kindly ask just one thing from each of the panelists they can say, because otherwise it will be a little bit too long. So it's not what you like on ONOS, but what you consider in ONOS important for the industry. I mean, what is the key message that ONOS brings and the key value that it can bring to the industry? This is the question. Just one thing, please.
One thing. I think the word you used up there is innovation. I think what it allows not only customers and vendors, but to innovate separately together. What I talked about in the first hand. I think having that open source capability, that open source project to new network topologies and new network uses, absolutely one sentence thing I say that almost brings to this.
Thank you. Yeah, so one key thing that really a lot of people in the industry are involved in innovation is the what's called the core project, CORD, the central office redesigned as a data center. So essentially the telecom networks of the last 40 plus years have ecosystems and now ONOS, MST control networks with virtualization technology and disaggregation, all of that stuff put together is now getting all the carriers around the world to redo their telecom infrastructure in a fully virtualized disaggregated, and SDN and ONOS is a key part of that.
My point up regarding this problem, my answer, my think that the most important is the source and the human. Yeah, so since for the past 6 years, in order to find the essence of SDN and ON.Lab, I have dinner with all kinds of people, all kinds of experts, more than 2,000 times. Yeah. So this is maybe you think it's unbelievable, but it definitely happens. I have dinner in almost every places, Silicon Valley, in Paris, and also in Europe and in China. But now I think this is time consuming. But I think if we use that the open source and we use that ONOS, we can embrace more people, more source in the community. So I think the community, the human, the source is the most important one. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
First, the high availability or high scalability. These features are very important for us. So we like the ONOS, the architecture. And another thing is that ONOS is distinguished, the ONOS community or ONOS architecture is distinguished the governance of the architecture. I think that ONOS is a very ONOS community has very strong architecture view. For example, I believe that there will be a lot of applications in the near future using ONOS. And we believe that the common functions, the basic function inside the application would be upstream to the core of ONOS, the framework of ONOS. I think this type of feedback loop would be very important for us because we can easily upgrade our functions using the core functions more easily. So the feedback loop is very important for us.
Okay. What I think personally that is the most relevant for ONOS and SDN architecture, and specifically ONOS, is first that SDN brings and can bring, in fact, because it would depend also how it would be really deployed inside the telecom network infrastructure or network infrastructure of OTTs or others. It brings the possibility to have a very streamlined architecture. Means you develop your application, your third-party application, integrate. ONOS is there to integrate it through its normal interface, REST API, Transport API, or so on. And it provides also very well defined server interface with, to enable the configuration of device or network equipment. And if we keep this line, I think it will have a chance really to go for real deployment and really used by different network operators. This is what I like, and I especially like the openness of OpenFlow that in fact enable through experimental message to develop some additional configuration capability on the network device. And it is, I think, a very strong support for virtualized network function developed by software, by any software developer, in fact. It can be a company, it can be such as Nokia, it can be small students. It opens the possibility to develop this network, virtualized network function, to integrate it very quickly, and specifically to validate on, I should say, a network control platform first, this virtualized network control function, and once it is proved, it has been validated to really go to the deployment phase for real network operation.
Okay, I think that everyone is very happy that it's open source. I would also say that it follows the model of ITF, which is first try to do things and then demonstrate it work. So thanks a lot. Can we go to the next question? The next question is, as it has been hinted, the human capital is essential for innovation. Because really all these systems, ONOS and other software-based networking is being made through innovation through human capital. The challenge for the industry is that the human capital in the industry, is it suited to use these new paradigms and these new technologies, this new way of doing things? Especially because it's not just networking, but it's also computing, it's also storage, it's distributed systems. So it's a real challenge also from the competence of the human capital. What do you think?
So I think there's two aspects when I look at how businesses are dealing with this. A lot of businesses have been set up and compartmentalized these various different. Here's a group that deals with networking. Here's a group that deals with storage. Here's a group that deals with something else. And as you rightly point out, what SDN is doing is bringing all those together. And so they've got kind of those business boundaries that they have to work through and understand how that's going to happen. That's a challenge for businesses. Further, when you look at the technologists that they bring into it, you have a network engineer versus a software engineer. You see these blending today. That you can't just have a software engineer that knows software. You have to be a software engineer that knows networking, or a networking engineer that knows software. And so you have to have individuals of these single competencies, and that's a hard thing to find today, right? I think the university system has to start educating students in both of these practices. And as those students come out, the industry will mature as well. You have older people already in the industry trying to learn other disciplines, and that also is a challenge for them. And the industry has to allow for that because you have tremendous knowledge already in your business, in the network. And those network engineers have to understand this new DevOps world, how this is going to work. And I think this is a human problem that businesses are running into right now.
Yeah, so I agree. I think that similarly in those lines, I think the human capital involved in this new model of open source technology as rapidly that is changing and allowing this rapid innovation and reduction in cost does require a different way of creating applications and software and networks. And that's continuous integration and continuous deployment model. That you don't spend an entire year to build one thing. What they say, build quickly, let it fail, and then correct, and then readjust and iterate. That's the DevOps model. That's the continuous integration, continuous deployment model. And having open source technologies and things allows more people to have access to that technology, and they're rapidly able to create applications rather than waiting the traditional longer periods of time to create an application. So I think it definitely does have a shift in terms of the mentality or psychology of engineer software development going forward. And I think the industry just has to adopt to that because being able to adapt to that will then provide opportunities for people to get more into this area and succeed in this area.
Yes. So regarding this one, the human capital. So this, I agree with this two people's opinion. So I want to add something. Yes. So I always to explain my thoughts on the orders, not the technology. Always think about this the feeling, human, and this one. Yeah. But this one is the same as regarding this one. I think now that the successful story have happened in the IT world, so the Facebook, Google, and also Linux and this one. But for the past years, we know our the networking. At that time, they move slow. It's okay. But today, they say OTT move very, very fast. Why? Because it has a healthy ecosystem. But for us, as a closed ecosystem, so why we need the open source, we need the orders. So we can borrow a lot of technology and that enhance our competence and that is get more people are involved. And every people can contribute to the network. Network IP is not mysterious. So that's the thing. And also go on. Just I mentioned at the first preface, I said network artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? It reduce the man's burden, reduce the people's burden, save your time. You can do other things. Yeah, CCIE, you need a lot of the special experience, special the technology. Maybe tomorrow is not necessary. You can do other more important things. Okay, yes.
Again, for students, OTT is over the top Google. People always focalize on information, but as you know, probably the amount of information you have to move around the world is very high. Google and Facebook have just announced that they will deploy 120 terabits optical fiber cable between the United States and Asia, because they think they need all this capacity just to shuffle our data around. This is the other opposite. I think that from my experience where I live, we are now discussing that the network is becoming invisible because what people is interested in is information. Nonetheless, it's very complex to make an invisible network. Please.
I really agree with the human capital is essential for innovation. About the career's point of view, there are lot of network engineer inside the company, but if we lack of software developers, because before SDN and NFV, there is little work to design or implement software inside the careers. But after SDN and NFV, software developer will be very essential. I think, especially for software architect is very important because it is very important for us to evaluate the framework realizing SDN and NFV services. And it is also important to determine the boundary of services, designing APIs or programming languages or suitable framework. Really important. So we lack of software architect to realize this.
Okay. I think the human capital is definitely essential for the deployment, the development of the SDN, and especially for ONOS software. And I would invite certainly the research institution or academic research institutions such as the University of Paris here to create some group of students or some groups of developers to play with ONOS, to realize some proof of concept, to develop that. Because in fact, in Nokia Bell Labs, we are interested by these people that take pleasure to realize, to prove, to demonstrate, to think further and out of the box, considering that in Nokia, open source is in our DNA. We like to investigate, we like to discover what we can do with existing open source and to prove some new concept. That's why I would invite you, all of us, all of you, and me included also, to play with ONOS, to run some scenarios, to take into account some previous presentations we have seen yesterday on that, and to realize some proof of concept and to show and to speak about that. And this is where the innovation will come, because people will start to interact and to develop further new concepts and new approach to invent and to invent the future.
Thank you. Any question? Yes, please.
Yeah, I guess I want to follow on the comment of the last speaker. Sorry, I missed the name.
Sorry, can you present yourself?
Yeah, I'm Parvisi Ghani, and I work for Huawei Technology. So, exactly, I see in a recent interview, I was traveling, and they asked me exactly the same question. The human capital is more than just the human as a resource, it's just the investment. And that investment in terms of training, education, the basic of the foundation of the educational system, especially we are here in this great university. I definitely want to propose that the academia and industry, they should revisit their curriculum, because when it comes to training the new generation of engineers and architects, we want to ensure that based on the demand and supply in the industry, the DNA, we were talking about Robin and my colleagues last time, the DNA of the company is rapidly changing. So they focus from like a hardware-centric era of technology is shifting to software-centric. So then we need to bring that idea to the foundation of the curriculum of the engineering schools. And we need to perhaps give a weight to where those new engineers and the architects should be focusing on. Teaching the hardware stuff that are becoming commodity is probably going to lower in value and priority, and we need to emphasize more on the software programming and skills. We are even software, if you are a good software programmer, but if you are not really a good like Java coder, still you cannot bring your full potential to contribute to this process. So I strongly suggest that we need to send a message as part of a takeaway of this conference to engineering schools to basically promote the idea that academia and industry need to revisit this paradigm shift, especially in networking, and the change of DNA.
Thank you. I think this question is also because we are in a university. Unfortunately, the time doesn't match very easily, and still I think programming is an art. So it's very difficult to talk about programming. Next one. Any other comment? There's a comment there.
Yes, my question is about security. Yes, are we going to discuss security from the point of view of the SDN? Because having a controller who controls all the network and configuration is very good, but having that compromised by another hacker or anyone. So, are we going to discuss security with the SDN? It's very crucial nowadays. And my other question is the ONOS going to run on, because it's going to support multi-vendors and equipment, is it going to run on as an OS in the vendors, or is it going to run on top of the OS? So that is the question.
So the first question is the next one. So we will talk about security now. Focus on the second thing.
The second thing is ONOS going to run on top of the vendor's OS, or is it going to be the OS?
Well, if you want to comment briefly, I think that now, even virtualization is there, who is on top of whom is difficult to decide. But anyway,
I mean, ONOS is a software project that runs on top of those units, right? I don't see it becoming personally the OS when you think the computer. I'm a very big proponent of kind of the container deployments for microservices. So I would like to see almost be not necessarily just a process on it, but running a container management system, Mesosphere, Kubernetes, Docker Swarm, and become a part of a larger ecosystem. We see this a little bit in the core that's talked about, where it's just one of many components. And I think we're going to see this more as we see orchestration across the industry, that ONOS, or a controller, if you will, is a component in an overall solution. It's not the center of the solution. It's used for certain things. And the TST talked about this yesterday as well, saying, look, we want to be a controller, do one thing well, kind of Linux mentality, which is perfect. And there's going to be other projects that come into play to do big data analysis, big data collection, expert systems, those type of capabilities, to bring a complete ecosystem together to solve the networking issues that customers have. And we're going to see best-of-breed integration come into a larger play into the industry. And then again, the orchestration across those capabilities.
Any please?
Sure, that was actually a really good question on security. I'm glad you brought that up, because we had that question as well. This is really key and important point that in open source technologies and virtualization and cloud deployments, security becomes more of a concern. If you have a closed system, security is less of a it's a concern, but less of a concern. The more the open the system is, the more it's likely vulnerable to security attacks. But on the flip side, the good news is that the more open it is, there are more, as I was saying earlier, there are more minds and hands behind it as well to defend the security attacks as well. So it just kind of escalates the level of openness of the system, more vulnerabilities that can be attacked, but then there's also more people now because it's open source and available to it. So security from a user's data protection perspective, that the user's content, user's access to their information must be secure. And on the flip side, the carrier or the service providers is providing us, the consumers, the network. We have to make sure that the network continues to run in a secure way. So from both sides.
Security, we will discuss security. But, I just want to finish this question about which operating system is costing what. And I think that is a very difficult question in the sense that probably open source and the fact that we are moving very fast will make that difficult to take a decision exactly what and exactly which type of hardware. Do you want to specifically comment on this issue?
If I may, I would just a comment. I see definitely ONOS as a kernel of the network controller, right? Where the basic and fundamental functions are there, and it offering also the capability to develop new functions according to what telecom network operator wants in terms of operation. Because each operator, each OTT, over-the-top service provider, has its own way to operate its network infrastructure. And sometimes it's even difficult for them to understand which are the workflows that they are using for that. And this is the reason why I think it will be the kernel with Linux, Ubuntu, whatever. And on top of that, it offers the capability to customize it for different deployment or different network segments. We have seen, for example, for data centers, for network segment, for core network segment, or over home networks with IoT, for example, Internet of the Things networks. And I think it's where I see at least ONOS playing a fundamental role.
Okay, thanks very much. I think now we can go to security, which is a hot topic today. Maybe you have heard 10 days ago the millions of denial of service computers in attack in the United States. So this is very important. And from my point of view, if I may suggest, ONOS is a very complex environment anyway. So the more complex the environment, the more difficult it is to ensure that there is a full security. So should we think to security in a different way also?
Well, it's interesting, as the questioner pointed out, you now have one controller in charge of a large portion of your network. So as you say, that one entity is compromised, all of a sudden a lot of your system is compromised. And that's a very dangerous concept. And so these systems do have to be tested to prevent this, right? And you have to use other networking technologies and their software to help around that. The other thing I think you see, particularly in the open source market, I think it's another question about how do we just adopt open source, is in a closed source, a vendor application, typically a vendor will have an organization that's in charge of security, which means they're going to be looking for security breaches into the software, and then can put those in high priority fixes. When the open source market, if you use an open source, if there's a security breach, all of a sudden the question comes to the customer, who do I call? All right, who do I call to get this fixed? Wait, I can't just post to a dev list and say, hey, there's a problem, someone please fix it. I've got to do it immediately. And so vendor organizations have to come into play to help support open source software, to take on those roles of support for security in particular. And until we get actually ONOS and all these open source projects deployed in real production networks, in high scale, high usage, and we start seeing attackers attacking us, we're not going to see all the security vulnerabilities. We don't today, to be honest, have enough people hacking away at it, trying to break in, to pick out what's going on. And so there's a huge risk, I think, in this area, and it needs to be addressed before these technologies get in wider production use.
I think the security is, in fact, is a complex issue. Later, regarding this student's question, maybe I can show you a picture about what security issue we should to cope with in the SD era. Okay, so regarding this question, I want to say that the first, I just want to give you example how the SDN can help improve the security. Because you know that our, in fact, in the network, IP network, sometimes will be attacked. But you know, once it's attacked, it's very difficult to locate the failure happens. For example, the OSPF or SS flooding packet. You don't know where is it. But if you use the SDN, you collect the more information. You can easily to locate the issue. Yeah, but this simple one, even in the IP network, it will cause the network crash. So I think that this example can verify the SDN's value in the security area. But this is just one hand. On the other hand, I want to say, SDN, in fact, propose other security issues because you are software. You can also be attacked. If the brain is cut, the brain is crashed. What will happen for your network? Just like mine, if you kill your brain, what will happen? Yeah, so that is also the problem. So that you must to guarantee your brain cannot be cut, or your brain is be cut, another brain can take over the job. Yeah, so this is also the lesson we learned from the SDN development. So this I just wanted to go on to introduce my SDN design philosophy. Yes, so the past years that everyone thinks SDN is one thing can do everything. I said today I told this is a lesson. In fact, this is a network, this is a system, the security device need a security to guarantee it measures to guarantee security. Network need measures to guarantee security, and controller need measures to guarantee the security. So the whole system is secure. Or else, if you only depend on, or your brain depend on somebody, is definitely it will crash. Yeah, that's all.
About the security issue, I think there are two aspects. The first aspect is how to avoid security risk under the SDN environment. And the second aspect is how to provide value-added security functions using SDN technologies. About the first aspect, it is very difficult to avoid security risks completely. To be honest, our company, there were several security incidents, but from the experience of us, most of the security risks could be countermeasured by the proper setting of the surrounding company. I mean, we need proper security settings or firewall settings or network design to be very important. So we have to check the design, whole design of the system, and I think it is very important for us to check the setting continuously. This is a very simple, basic, but it is very important for us. And about the second aspect, I believe that the security application or security functions would be a shared application of SDN. Currently, there are several security functions to be implemented using NFT technologies, like virtual firewall, virtual load balance, virtual IDS or something like that. But using SDN technology more, we think we can provide more value-added security functions. Like, for example, when there is a DDoS attack to the network, with this technology, we can redirect the suspicious traffic to the another location or to the analyzing point, or to the point that our operators can handle the suspicious traffic properly. This is a very simple example, but security is very promising to realize our value-added service.
Okay, I will. I finished. That's why it's not easy to answer things new from what has been said. But I fully agree with Dave concerning these two aspects. The first aspect concerning attacks on the SDN controller is fundamental because this is the brain. This is where you control the network. Having a breach on the control of your network, you are the master of the, you are God of your network, and it's done. And this is a very critical point because, in fact, SDN promotes open APIs for software developers to access to this network operating system and to deploy its SDN apps. And this is, I think, the real compromise between a rich community of developers, a rich community of researchers, developing, playing, and producing a lot of software, and the security. This is a balance that needs to be found between these two opposite directions. And the second point concerning the users, because it's true that users don't want their data to be compromised. They want to preserve their privacy. They want to be sure, for example, government institutions want to be sure that their data are not flowing outside their countries, because for security reasons, we know all of the Snowden problem, etc., the NSA, etc. And this is definitely an area of research where Nokia already has a lot of solutions developed for that. But I think the way to encrypt data, the way to define different levels of encryption, protection, intrusion detection function is very fundamental. And this is where I think it will be an ongoing work that will never end, because one security application will be available, I'm pretty sure that some hackers will be ready to break that and to bypass this security function. That's why it's a very rich and stimulating environment for developers.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that in any case, as it is open source, I think the contribution to each of us to the security is essential. During the famous attack in the United States a few weeks ago, there were many printers. There were many low devices that have been misconfigured. So this is, for us at least, a lesson that also working with the end user is essential. I think the panel is closing. Before to close, I ask the panelists, if possible, since there are students in the audience, if they have any advice or any suggestion for them, given the bright work that we are trying to let you know, please.
Don't be afraid to fail. I guess would be the best thing, right? Try something. Don't just sit there and wait for something else to do, something to happen to you. Do something. I've seen this throughout my career. The best people I've worked with have not necessarily been people from the best institutions. They've been the people that have been able to look at a problem, understand the problem from various different angles, and just charge forward. And if they fail, they correct it in line and they kept moving. So don't be afraid to do something out of your comfort zone. In fact, thrive on it, right? Try that new thing. If there's a piece of hardware you haven't touched, touch the piece of hardware. Or if you're a software engineer, I've seen this problem over and over, that software engineers get terrified of hardware. Go in there and unplug something. If it breaks, yeah, money will fix it. So just be brave and courageous, I guess would be the advice.
Thank you. I think in a similar line, I think that it is a fundamental shift that's happening in technology. I think for the younger students, I know being a software student 30 years ago in computer science and learning programming languages. Now the model is really shifting. And I think that it does not only just take the super bright person and only a few of them. It is now open that ideas are more important now, and the technology is there and more readily available and more easily understandable and more fluid now in terms of technology. Ideas will count and implement the ideas, because open source is allowing more complex ideas to be implemented more quickly. And that's what the new shift about the trend is happening now.
Okay. I want to say that one. In fact, in Beijing, I also visited several of the universities and to take part in the SDN conference. Yeah. In fact, I am always inspired by the eagerness of our students. They say, open source, oh, I like it. If you tell me what I do, I like doing it free. I don't need money, I will like it. I want to contribute. So I think I'm very inspired by their eagerness. So I just mentioned at the beginning about this, about the SDN. I call it Student Network Artificial Intelligence. That now that we are in the early phase, believe me, we are in the early phase of the SDN. A lot of opportunities exist for you. Okay, you can take it, you can contribute it, you can build the new world, yeah. And later, they definitely with maybe a software world. Even don't be afraid of network, don't be afraid of IP. Yeah, not mysterious. In fact, at the beginning, IETF, that one, the philosophy is running code, but later maybe it's lag. But now we restore the essence, the running code. Yeah, this open source is coming. Please join it. Even you now you join this word, even you later you found that this word is not okay, it's not suitable for you. You can still, based on the technology learned from this open source, learn from the owners, learn some of the IT software technologies. You can also join some of the internet companies like Facebook, that's Google, and even future some of these robot companies. Yeah, definitely this will definitely happen. Yeah, okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
My suggestion would be please look at the worldwide market. In Japan, in the past, we have developed our software inside my company or inside Japan. Japanese market is very close market, but this kind of old age was over. And nowadays, we have set up the international software development team from Europe, from Asia, from America, and something like that. So, so it is very important to look at the worldwide market. This is my solution. Thank you very much.
Well, I try to add another feeling or recommendation on that. I think we are going and seeing that we are going through a 5 generation of network with the convergence of the wireless network and the transport network. And I think definitely through the different projects that specifically ONOS proposed with NCORN, ECORN, etc., but it will be an enabler. That's why I think on this way you have already for you students that want to involve that, the capability to learn from that, and also not only to learn but also to see some realization, some ongoing projects that are in fact available on the web. You can see, you can try, you can extend, you can deploy on your computer, you can really make some use case. And I think it's a very good basis for developing that. And my second, I should say recommendation, if I may provide you some recommendation, there's SDN has a very strong or very weakest link that is security. And this is definitely a bridge that we should all together be concerned if we really want ONOS being pushed further in real network operations. And this will be my second recommendation. And the last, but not the least, have fun with ONOS, play and develop and enjoy it.
I think that the ITF motto was running code and draft consensus. From my point of view, also the draft consensus is essential in this environment. And with this, I think that our panel is over. I would like to thank you again, please, all the speakers. The coffee first.